Welcome friends to the second part of the previous discussion. The topic is on your screen, Vedanta, Philosophical Systems, Part 2. In this discussion, we will concentrate on Advaita Vedanta and beyond. Agenda for this discussion is set Avidya and Maya, knowledge in Advaita Vedanta, valid and invalid knowledge, 6 pramans, and brief discussion on Vishishtadvaita and Dvaita. So, what is Avidya and Maya? Brahma as higher Brahma and lower Brahma. This is described in Vedanta philosophy. Higher Brahma is understood only by knowledge, that is Vidya. He is free from attachment, names and forms. He is Nirgun Brahma. This understanding brings about liberation. And Sagun Brahma or God, according to Shankaracharya, is lower Brahma. This Brahma is viewed due to ignorance, avidya. So, Advaita philosophy concentrates on how to understand Brahma. So, Shankaracharya does not discard the Sagun aspect of Brahma, rather he says that he divides the idea of Brahma into the lower and higher Brahma. And whatever we see the Brahma with the form, in the form of idol or in the form of sketches, in the form of pictures, that is because of the ignorance, because of the lack of knowledge. That form of Brahma is associated to. Knowledge is possible only when the mind is cleared from doubts and apprehensions. As long as there is no transparency, learning becomes ignorance, that is avidya. The main characteristics to understand Brahma is Vidya, knowledge. Gaurapadacharya calls ignorance as Vikalpa, wrong interpretation, and Shankara calls it as Adhyasa, superimposition. So, here we will also throw some light upon these two aspects, Vikalpa and Adhyasa. In Upanishads, the knowledge is divided into two categories we have already discussed, Paravidya and Aparavidya. Paravidya is basically the higher knowledge which is required to know the Brahma, and Aparavidya, that is concerned with the worldly knowledge. So, here Paravidya is beyond wisdom. It is the knowledge which seeks to know the truth of existence from within, and you see that this is the basis of this Paravidya is based on a discussion that took place between Narad and Sanat Kumar, and out of the outcome of this discussion was this hierarchy which is on your screen. You see that from one stage to the higher stage of the knowledge of Atma and Spirit, it reaches in this way, hierarchy of power towards Paravidya. So, the processes involved other than the sense organs, intuition, inspiration, revelation and profoundest realization. This is the transcendental knowledge of Brahma, the ultimate reality. It is sometimes esoteric knowledge, it is experiential, direct and transformative. Sources are not sense organs, rather beyond them, and a clean and pure mind can concentrate upon truth. That is the fundamental requirement to reach to this aspect of knowledge, that is Paravidya, that mind should be clean and it should be free from all kinds of impurities. Truth shines in the heart of the heart. What is Avidya? Avidya is the hampering element, that is the obstacles in the way of the reality. Avidya means ignorance, illusion, or sometimes it is called Maya or false knowledge. It is the root cause of suffering, that is dukkha and bondage, samsara in Indian philosophical traditions like in Buddhism and Jainism. Avidya is another name for illusion, that is Maya, Prashnopanishad says. And avidya is asat, not being, tamas, darkness, and mrityu, death, Vrihadaranyaka Upanishad says. And in one of the prayers of Kathopanishad also, this is very famous prayer we all recite in our, if you just remember your school days, we all have recited it. Tamsoma jyotirgamay mrityor mamratam gamay, asadoma sadgamay, tamsoma jyotirgamay, mrityor mamratam gamay. So, these three adages describe the nature of Vidya. Avidya is illusion that veils the truth, and avidya is also not a kind of bondage which a man has to untie for realizing the truth, Mundaka Upanishad says. Brahm satyam jagat mithya jivo brahmava naparaha. World is like a dream. This is the famous statement of Shankaracharya, who describes the essence of entire Advaita philosophy in this one statement. World is like a dream. When we dream, everything seems real, people, events, emotions, but when we wake up, we realize that it was an illusion. This is the essence of this statement. And philosophy of Shankaracharya regarding the Avidya, two levels of reality, Paramarthika, that is absolute, only Brahma is real, and Vyavharika, empirical, world is conditionally real, that is mithya. Gaudapadacharya calls ignorance, avidya, as vikalpa, wrong interpretation, and Shankaracharya calls it as adhyasa, that is superimpositions. What does it mean? Avidya is due to adhyasa, that is superimposition. Sankhya gives an example for cause and effect. The pot is a transformation of the clay. It is unreal. For example, if you have a pot, there is one example on your screen. Even the pot and the clay, effect and cause become unreal at higher standpoint, that is Paramarthika, but real at empirical standpoint, Vyavharika. So, in practical aspect, you see that pot is real, but in fact, there is no difference between clay and the pot. Pot is itself, there is no difference between clay. Just the form of the clay is transformed into a pot. So, one aspect is Paramarthika, another is the Vyavharika. Another example, Gaudapada says that people fail to understand at the higher point of view because of wrong interpretation. But in example 2, we see one sees a rope at dusk and thinks it as a snake due to the wrong interpretation of the senses. This is not a snake on your screen, this is just a rope, but due to the less light or the darkness, one may apprehend it as a snake. This is called, Shankara calls this wrong interpretation. This is called the superimposition, that is the adhyasa. It as the appearance in the form of a memory of something personally experienced in some other place, because the idea of snake was already there in your mind. If you have never seen the snake, then you cannot be illusioned by a rope with a snake, because the idea of snake is already in your mind. That is called the superimposition, that on reality something is imposed from outside or from inside. So unless one has the idea or seen a snake, it is not possible to mistake a rope for a snake. That's the idea of Shankaracharya of superimposition or adhyasa. Maya, as Shankara describes. Shankara uses the term avidya to speak of that which creates the world of Maya or name and form, but doesn't refer to the world itself as avidya. Avidya and Maya are causing us to experience superimposition, the thing that we do, which is to give it a positive function beyond that of merrily veiling Brahma. Maya has a complex illusory power of Brahma, which causes the Brahma to be seen as the material world of separate forms. So, on the other hand, Shankaracharya also says that this jagat is mithya doesn't mean that it is useless. It is the manifestation of the Brahma, because Maya is the power of Brahma, because of which he manifests this entire world. And whatever we perceive, this is the superimposition what God wills or God imposes upon us. So Maya is a specific power of Brahma. Maya has two functions: to hide Brahma from ordinary human perception. Brahma cannot be seen by ordinary man, ordinary person, because of this Maya. And another function of Maya is to present the material world in it Brahma place. So Brahma hides himself and presents this world instead of his own existence, instead of his own form. So Shankaracharya in that sense says that Maya doesn't mean that this world is avidya, this world is ignorance. Rather, the reality cannot be seen by the naked eyes until you have some special preparations or special potentialities, because everything is illusioned because of the ignorance. Maya is also said to be indescribable, though it may be said that sense data entering one's awareness via the five senses are Maya. So, but Brahma is not touched by Maya. It is like the magician who is not affected by his own tricks. So, Maya cannot affect Brahma itself, because Maya is associated with Brahma. It is one of the special powers of Brahma. Maya can affect your knowledge as a human being. The analogy is like the magician knows, magician can tantalize other human beings, but magician himself knows his own tricks. So he cannot be overpowered by his own magics. Popular uses of the term Maya has become very popular word in Indian social traditions also. We see on your screen, you see that Maya term has been used in multiple ways, like Maya Nagri. Bollywood Indian film industry is known as the Maya Nagri Mumbai, because in the same way superimpositions is there. Whatever watch or whatever we see on the screen, we just consider it real, but we don't know that it is because of our ignorance, we don't know the reality. But when we come to know the technology, then we can understand the reality behind it. Another term is the Moh Maya, the temporary fame, money and position and so on. Recently there's a movie, Moh Maya and Money. Maya Jal, a trap of ignorance. Maya Puri, a very popular film magazine I have seen since my childhood days. These two magazines are on your screen, Maya Puri, a popular film magazine, and then Maya Mahal, a tantalizing luxury place, it is known as, and title of many Bollywood movies are based on this term. So how to remove Maya? Both Avidya and Maya are temporary. An action is not necessary to overcome avidya. There's no need to remove that Maya. Only knowledge is there, then Maya will automatically be removed. You don't have to make any effort to remove this Maya, because Maya is ultimately associated with the Brahma. Brahma has used Maya in order to hide his own identity. And if human being just works on the acquisition of knowledge, that is Paravidya, this Maya will not affect that Paravidya. So it is naturally removed by its opposite, that is the Vidya or knowledge. So knowledge is gained by personal perseverance to know the truth. The truth is realized at two levels: by study of the great scriptures with the guidance of a teacher, that is not by the studying, by the meditation, or by there are the three methods what Upanishads suggest, that you see Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasan. And second level is to examine one's misinterpretation of things and situation. That's the removal of the doubt is very important requirement. One has to examine the reasons for the false interpretation and realize the higher knowledge governed by nothing but the truth. How is that the snake is superimposed on a rope? Is it due to fear of the snake or the failure of the senses to recognize correctly? Are rope and snake two different objects? So such types of interpretations required corrections. So Brahm Satyam Jagat Mithya, this is a very famous adage of Shankaracharya. In just half a verse, Shankaracharya explained the essence of Advaita. Brahma alone is Satyam, real, changeless and self-existent. The world is mithya, apparent, dependent, reality, neither absolutely real nor absolutely unreal. Mithya doesn't mean the useless, because everybody has his or her own world, and that world is illusory. What you perceive in that way, world is not useless. World is the requirement of everyone. So in that way, mithya doesn't mean the useless, rather it's illusory. The jiva is non-different from Brahma. The essence of the individual is pure, limitless and awareness. So Brahma Satyam meaning, Brahma Satyam, Brahma is real. Brahma means the ultimate reality, pure consciousness, eternal, infinite, unchanging. It is source of everything, and it is like the ocean, deep and constant. That's why the screen itself is the explanation of this statement, that it is like the ocean. The Brahma is like the ocean, deep and constant. You don't know the breadth and depth of the ocean in that way. For example, your true self, not the body or mind, is pure consciousness. This awareness never changes. Now, Jagat Mithya, what's the meaning? Jagat Mithya, the world is conditional, not absolutely real. Mithya does not mean false or imaginary like a lie. It means dependent reality, real only as long as we experience it. Everything in the world changes, appears, disappears, so it is not the ultimate truth. For example, dream, mirage in the desert, or the wave and the ocean, they are all the illusions or hallucinations sometimes. Vedantic analysis, according to the Vedanta philosophy, World is neither real nor unreal. A third category is the mithya. Ignorance, the only veil is avidya. Once removed, there is no distance between Jiva and Ishwar. Then resolution, the Mahavakya removes the distinction between subject, object and creator. All are seen as one consciousness. And common misunderstandings about mithya is it is illusion. It does not mean non-existent. The world exists for transaction but lacks absolute reality. So, we come to the another aspect of discussion, no dualism. What is that? Advait, Jivo Brahmeva, na para, the individual self is Brahma. The deepest essence of you is not the body, not the mind, not the emotions, but pure awareness, that is Atma. So, that Atma, that is Brahma, there is no real separation. For example, look at many pots made of clay. The shapes differ, but the substance is the same. Clay, similarly, bodies and potentialities differ, but the inner consciousness is one. So, as you see on the picture that so many shapes and forms of the pots are there, they are made of the same material, that is the clay. In that way, the shape differ, but the substance is the same, that is clay. Analogy is there. In all these analogies, you may pause the screen and you may take certain other examples in order to understand this non-dualism. Then what about knowledge? True knowledge is attained by eagerness to learn. The ambition to know the ultimate truth leads to wisdom. When snake is superimposed on the rope, correct information that it is only a rope, not a snake, must be clarified. The person who has mistaken the rope for a snake must understand the object rope as the existing thing and snake as an illusion. Before deciding to perceive an object right or wrong one has to know how the things are perceived in the first place. So, why need valid knowledge? Attaining truth, satya and liberation, moksha, avoiding errors, viparyaya, systematic inquiry, tark and nyaya, harmonizing experience and scriptures. So, these are the reasons why you need the valid knowledge. And sources of knowledge obviously are many, but some of them may be our five sense organs or the intuition or sometimes faith and authorities like from the books, from the persons, from the speeches, from the YouTube videos, from certain websites, and reasoning by way of logical deductions, by debates, by arguments, dialogues and so on. So, there are multiple ways and sources of knowledge, but in Upanishadic traditions and Vedantic traditions, valid and invalid knowledge are of prime importance. Vedanta philosophy describes between valid knowledge, prama, and invalid knowledge, aprama, as follows. Epistemic terminology is very important in Vedantic philosophy. The subject who knows is pramata. If I know that I am pramata, you know you pramata, you are the pramata. So, whosoever makes efforts to know something, he is called pramata. And object of knowledge, whatever you are going to know, that will be the prameya. And the means of valid knowledge, through which methods you are going to know, that is pramana, by way of some books, some testimony, by way of some speeches and so on. Then the resultant of valid knowledge, that is prama. If knowledge is valid, it is called prama. If knowledge is invalid, it is called aprama. So, these five are the very important terminology. What is a valid knowledge? It is that knowledge which is true, non-erroneous and leads to successful action. Every major school of Indian thought like Nyaya, Vedanta, Mimamsa, they all accept the valid or invalid knowledge, and sources on your screen are there. Pratyaksha, Advaita philosophy states that there are 6 different ways of knowing. One is the Pratyaksha, the knowledge gained by the sense organs. Anuman, the knowledge gained by inference, and Upaman, the knowledge gained by analogy, and the Shabda or Agama or the Vedas, they are the testimonies or knowledge by the books or the scriptures, and last two are the Arthapatti and the Anuplabdhi. So, we have already discussed this in one of the lectures. Now we come to the second aspect of Vedanta philosophy, that is Vishishtadvaita. It is somewhat similar to Shankaracharya's ideology and views because it also gives emphasis on the non-dualism. Vishishtadvaita is the name given to the philosophy of Sri Ramanuja and his followers. Its another name is the Sri Vaishnavism. It stands for the religious aspects of this theistic schools of Vedanta. Shri Vaishnavism refers to the system of thought where Lord Vishnu along with his consort Sri Lakshmi occupies the supreme position. So, in one of the Swaminarayan temples, you may also see that Lord Vishnu is always associated with Devi Lakshmi. This is the concept of Vishishtadvaita or this Sri Vaishnavism. She is the mother of entire creation, Sri Lakshmi, being the consort of Lord Vishnu. It is also known as the Sri Sampradaya because of the presence of Sri Lakshmi. And thus both the expressions Sri Vaishnavism and Sri Sampradaya signify the role of Sri Lakshmi in the process of liberation. So both the images of Lord Vishnu is on your screen, that Lord Vishnu is always associated with Sri Lakshmi. This is the one idea. And why, how origin of Vaishnavism took place, created to 12 Vaishnavite Alvar saints in South India during 2nd and 9th century CE. The Alvars, 12 in number, including a women saint Andal, were born in all caste and strata of society and in areas widespread in the south. So, Alvar saints were basically considered in the traditions that they were the incarnations or they were the devotees to Lord Vishnu, and they diluted or they just like they merged up in the essence of Brahma. And their statues or their murtis are there in one of the temples, Nimra Narayana temple in South India. And one of them out of the 12 Vaishnavite saints, one was the women saint also, her name was Andal. And this is the images on your screen of the murtis of those Alvar saints. They were the devotees of Vishnu. Their outpouring constitute one of the most important scripture of Tamil Vaishnavism known as the Nalariyara Divya Prabandham. Literally, it means the book of 4,000 divine stanzas. This is available in the Tamil language on your screen. The image is there. It contains the 4,000 songs of these Vaishnavite saints. So, the contribution towards the Vaishnavism is equally credited to South India and North India, and it is merged up. That's why you see Ramanujacharya's contribution is also associated with the contribution of the 12 Alvar saints. Ramanuja was born in Sri Perumbudur, Tamil Nadu, and became a leading teacher of Sri Vaishnava tradition. Major works of Ramanujacharya is on your screen, you may go through it. He synthesized Vedic philosophy with bhakti devotional practice. So, here the North India and South India's idea of Vaishnavism just merges up, where the scriptural foundation says that according to Vishishtadvaita tradition, the hymns of Alvar's Divya Prabandham were considered to be equal in importance to Sanskritic Vedas. Sri Vaishnavites call Divya Prabandham as the Tamil Veda, and they regarded it as authoritative as Prasthanatraya in Vedanta. So, this Divya Prabandham has the same place what in North Indian traditions the Vedantic sources of Prasthantraya is having, the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads and Brahma Sutra. So, equal to that status, Divya Prabandham is considered in Vaishnavite traditions. Both Sanskrit and Tamil scriptures are as normative and foundational. The Vishishtadvaita system itself is regarded as Ubhaya Vedanta, that is double Vedanta system. To the group of authoritative text, they also add the Vaishnava Agams and the Puranas, especially the Bhagavata Puran. So, core ideas of Vishishtadvaita would include: Vishisht means qualified, distinct, differentiated, and Advaita non-dualism or oneness. Therefore, Vishishtadvaita means qualified non-dualism, a philosophy that accepts unity, but a unity that is qualified by plurality. So, core idea would say there is one supreme Brahma, God, who is non-dual. But Brahma is not an abstract attributeless reality, as in Shankara Advaita. Shankaracharya says that he has no attributes, attributeless reality. Vishishtadvaita says Brahma is with attributes, that is Sagun Brahma, full of auspicious qualities, Kalyana Guna. That is why the concept of Narayana is there and Sri Lakshmi is there. So, Ramanujam identifies this Brahma with Sriman Narayan, that is Vishnu, who is personal, gracious and attainable through devotion. So what metaphysics of Vishishtadvaita says, Brahma supreme reality, Brahma is personal, omniscient, all powerful and full of compassion, no formless or impersonal, it is Sagun, identified with Narayana, always accompanied by Sri Lakshmi who mediates grace. Out of this philosophical schools, the Sagun and Nirgun Bhakti Dhara emerged in North India, and we find that Kabir Das and uh, certain other Redas, etc., they follow the Nirgun Bhakti Dhara, and Surdas and Tulsidas, they all follow the Sagun Bhakti Dhara, where the concept of the incarnation of Lord Vishnu is there in North India, where that Ram and Krishna are considered as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So this Bhakti traditions emerged out of this great ocean of Vishishtadvaita, identified with Narayana, and you see on your screen Lord Vishnu is always seen or depicted with the presence of Sri Lakshmi. And about the universe, the world is real, not illusion, unlike Advaita. It is the body, Sharir of Brahma, meaning Brahma dwells in and control everything. So what is qualified non-dualism? Though it is a non-dual whole, yet it is characterized by internal differences in it. So on the one hand, Brahma is the body, and this entire universe is the manifestation of that body. Sagun Brahma is a personal being with countless auspicious attributes, and it is a qualified whole of which Brahma is the soul, and the Jiva and the Jagat, the soul and material nature, constitute the body, which has an inseparable relationship with the whole. So if you see that the soul is associated with this entire universe, the soul is Brahma, and whatever material world is manifested, that is the body. So in that way, it is the qualified non-dualism. So you may go through it, you may read it, and with the references of Vishishtadvaita and the interpretation of Ramanujacharya is there. Metaphysics of Vishishtadvaita would include that individual soul and Jeev Atma are real and eternal but dependent on Brahma. They are like cells in the body of Brahma, distinct yet inseparable. This is another analogy. Relationship between Brahma, Jiva and Jagat explained through the formula Sharir, Sharirin, Bhava. Body-soul relationship. Brahma is soul, Jiva plus Jagat is equal to body. Therefore, unity with real difference. Now we come to the last part of this discussion, Dvaita Vedanta. Dvaita system has been the chief rival in thought to the Advaita of Shankaracharya in the history of Indian philosophy. It stood up for realism in Indian thought against all forces of idealism and acosmism. Exponent of the school was Madhvacharya, both in Pajaka, Karnataka. Madhva was deeply rooted in Vaishnava traditions. He was born in Pajaka, that is a place in Karnataka. He travelled widely and debated with Advaitins and Buddhists. He declared himself as Avatara of Vayu, the divine wind god and protector of Dharma. Important works associated to Madhvacharya are basically Brahma Sutra, Bhashya and Anuvakhyana and so on. So, core principles of Dvaita philosophy would include Brahma, about Brahma or Supreme God. Vishnu is the eternal, personal and independent Supreme Being, Paramatma. He possesses infinite auspicious qualities, Anta Kalyan Guna, Ananta Kalyan Guna. All other beings depend on him for existence. And regarding Jiva or individual soul, he says souls are real, eternal and distinct from one another and from God. Souls are totally dependent on God for power and knowledge. Souls vary in capacity and spiritual capabilities. Regarding Jagat, he says the world is real, created by God and governed by him. He rejects Shankar's idea of Maya, that is illusion. The universe is ordered, purposeful and meaningful. All schools of Vedanta maintain that the goal of human life is to realize Brahma, the ultimate reality, to be united with the transcendental ground of the universe. Schools of Vedanta differ with respect to how they conceive of Brahma, what realization of and union with Brahma involves, and how this is achieved. So, Vedanta philosophy just gave emergence to different schools, and bhakti is the outcome of this entire philosophical analysis and manifestations by the efforts of Ramanuja, Madhava and Nimbarkacharya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, no doubt. So, we can have a comparative summary. Ultimate reality is Brahma. Shankara says Nirgun without attributes. Vishishtadvaita Ramanuja says Sagun auspicious qualities, and Dvaita Madhvacharya, God Vishnu is the highest independent identity. Regarding the nature of soul or jiva, soul is identical with Brahma according to Advaitva. Vishishtadvaitavad says soul is a part attribute of Brahma, and Dvaita Madhvacharya says soul is completely distinct from God and eternity dependent. So, in the same way regarding the world, regarding relation Brahma and Jiva and path to liberation, all is on your screen. You may, we have summarized it. You may pause the screen and you may go through it for an understanding. So, that's all for today's discussion with a beautiful statement of Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi. I am just concluding this talk. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I want to change myself. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thanks for joining.